when Zhou authority became a memory. The Warring States period begins in a world where unity no longer exists. By the 5th century BCE, the Zhou king still sat on the throne, but his authority had become purely symbolic. Real power had shifted to regional states, each ruled by ambitious leaders who no longer pretended loyalty to a central order. What had once been a fragmented but restrained political landscape during the spring and autumn period now transformed into something far more violent and uncompromising. The old rules of warfare, ritual, and noble conduct collapsed. War was no longer seasonal or ceremonial. It became permanent. China entered an age defined not by tradition, but by survival. Power consolidates. Out of dozens of competing states, 7 emerged as dominant powers: Qin, Chu, Zhao, Wei, Han, Qi, and Yan. Smaller states were swallowed, erased from maps, and forgotten by history. These great states were not equal in culture or geography. Chu controlled vast southern lands rich in resources. Qi thrived through trade and reform. Zhao and Wei became military innovators. Han struggled to survive between stronger neighbors. And in the West, Qin waited. Competition between these states was relentless. Alliances formed and collapsed. Diplomacy became as deadly as warfare. Betrayal was expected. Neutrality was impossible. This was not chaos. It was a system where only strength mattered. The end of aristocratic warfare. The Warring States period marked a revolution in warfare. Armies grew from thousands to hundreds of thousands. Noble chariots gave way to mass infantry. Iron weapons replaced bronze. Crossbows changed the battlefield forever. War was no longer fought by aristocrats seeking honor. It was fought by states mobilizing entire populations. Farmers became soldiers. Administrators became strategists. Victory depended on logistics, discipline, and organization. Defeat meant annihilation. Captured cities were destroyed. Entire populations were relocated or enslaved. Mercy became a weakness. This was the most brutal era in ancient Chinese history. Talent over birth. Old aristocratic privilege collapsed under the pressure of constant war. States that clung to noble lineage fell behind. Survival demanded efficiency. A new principle emerged. Talent mattered more than birth. Military commanders, administrators, engineers, and strategists were promoted based on ability rather than family background. Record-keeping, taxation systems, and standardized laws became tools of power. The state became a machine. Those who adapted survived. Those who did not vanished. Philosophy born from chaos. Amid endless war, thinkers searched for answers. This period gave rise to the 100 schools of thought, the most influential intellectual movement in Chinese history. Confucians argued that chaos was caused by moral decay. Society could only be restored through virtue, ritual, and righteous leadership. A ruler must be a moral example. Taoists rejected the struggle for power entirely. They believed that human ambition created disorder, and that harmony could only be achieved by following the natural way, the Tao. Legalists took a darker view. They believed humans were selfish by nature and required strict laws, harsh punishments, and absolute authority. Morality was irrelevant. Order must be enforced. These philosophies did not remain abstract ideas. They became weapons, fear as a tool of order. No state embraced legalism more fully than Qin. Legalist thinkers argued that a ruler should not rely on virtue or tradition, but on law. Laws must be clear, rewards generous, and punishments severe. Obedience must be absolute. Under legalist reforms, Qin transformed into the most efficient and ruthless state in China. Nobles lost their privileges, land was redistributed, military service was rewarded, disobedience was crushed. The state became supreme. Other states hesitated. Qin did not. War without battle. Not all conflicts were fought on the battlefield. Diplomacy became a sophisticated art. Envoys traveled between courts, offering alliances, spreading misinformation, and manipulating rivals. Strategies such as vertical and horizontal alliances shaped the balance of power. One wrong decision could doom an entire state. Assassination plots, defections, and betrayals were common. Trust disappeared. Survival demanded constant vigilance. This was war without end. Qin moves east. By the late 3rd century BCE, the balance had shifted. Qin's reforms gave it unmatched military strength and administrative control. One by one, rival states fell. Han was the first to collapse. Zhao and Wei followed. Chu resisted fiercely but was eventually overwhelmed. Yan and Qi fell soon after. By 221 BCE, the Warring States period ended not with peace, but with conquest. China was unified through force, from chaos to empire. The unification of China did not bring immediate harmony. It marked the beginning of imperial rule under Qin, the most centralized and authoritarian system China had ever known. The violence of the Warring States period left deep scars, but it also reshaped Chinese civilization forever. Centralized bureaucracy, standardized law, professional armies, and imperial ideology all emerged from this crucible. Chaos had forged order. Why the Warring States still matter? The Warring States period was not merely an age of war. It was the moment when China decided what kind of civilization it would become. Out of bloodshed came philosophy. Out of destruction came administration. Out of chaos came empire. Every dynasty that followed inherited lessons learned in this brutal age, and every ruler would be judged by the same question, first asked here: is power justified by strength or by order?